Afternoon, everybody. I wanted to take a minute to share a little testimony about what's been going on for me for the last week while I have been on quarantine, teaching from home, not able to be in church on Sunday. That was difficult. But something happened Sunday morning that reminded me about an important principle, and I thought it was good enough to share as a testimony for chapel today and forever for wherever else we might share it. I just first want to remind you of a couple of verses of scripture. This one is familiar. It's Jeremiah 29:11. We hear it all the time. And it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope." We talk about this a lot. God has a plan, and it's a good plan, and his plan is always working. And it's always working for our good, not for our harm. And I was thinking about that Sunday after all of this played out. 5 years ago, January of 2016, while I was in Maine, I took my first ever short-term missions trip to the Dominican Republic. I was there for about 10 days, and I had a wonderful time there. I met some really great people who made an impact on my life. Most people who take short-term missions, we all say the same thing. I went there thinking I was going to help them, but the experience actually changed me. And that was true of me too. While I was there 5 years ago, I met a bunch of wonderful people. One of them was a young man, a teenager then. He's now in his early 20s. I won't say his name. I don't want to embarrass him should this make his way to him. But a young man who befriended me. We hit it off. We had a good relationship in those 10 days. 2 years later, in 2018, I returned for a second trip, and we rekindled those relationships with this young man and with others. And we have been friends on Facebook. Every once in a while, I would hear from him. He would just reach out to me saying, "Hi, how are you doing?" The last time he contacted me on Facebook was in February of 2020, almost a year ago. Sunday morning early, I was out taking the dog out. He doesn't care that it's Sunday. He needs to go outside first thing every morning. And so I was outside early Sunday morning with him. And while I was outside waiting for him to make himself comfortable, I was looking at my phone, and a Facebook reminder popped up on my screen, reminding me of something that I had posted 5 years ago that day. It was a post that I posted while I was in the Dominican Republic. I think it was day 3 of my trip there. And it got me thinking about that experience and the people that I met there. And so, as Facebook allows you to do, I shared that memory. A few people liked it and commented on it. And I thought nothing of it. I went back inside and got ready, and I sat down at my computer to watch our discipleship class and then to watch our church stream online. I just had been sitting down and getting comfortable, ready to watch online, when I got a Facebook Messenger message from this young man from the Dominican Republic. He reached out to me and he said, "Hey, Pastor Dennis, how are you doing?" And I answered him. I said, "I'm fine. Thanks be to God. I am well. How are you and your family doing?" And he said, "Would you please pray for me?" And he didn't say any more than that. So I said, "Well, yeah, I'm going to pray for you, but I'm going to do more than that." And I typed a message in my phone, really a message to God, but on behalf of him. I prayed for him through Facebook Messenger. Have you ever imagined that you can use social media to pray for one another and they can hear it and read it? Well, not hear it, but read it. So as I prayed for God to be gracious to him and do something in his life, he shared with me more. He thanked me and he shared with me more about what he had been going through. He had kind of lost his way. He had stopped attending church. He was ashamed and embarrassed, and couldn't go back to church and couldn't talk to the local pastor there, who was a great godly man. But he was ashamed and embarrassed of what he had done, and he said, "I don't think God really cares about me anymore. I think I'm about the worst sinner there is." And he said, "Sometimes I think I shouldn't even be continuing to be alive." You can just imagine how I felt hearing that from one of my friends, even though he was 1,000 miles away, and I haven't seen him in now 3 years in person. My heart was breaking for him. But I encouraged him and I prayed for him and I said to him, I am the worst sinner that I know, because I know all of my own sins. I know what some other people do, and I hear about what others do, and I think that's pretty bad. But I know everything I do. And I don't know anybody. I don't personally know anyone, living or dead, about whom I know more to condemn them than I know myself. And I encouraged him to set aside his feelings of shame and guilt and to go back and talk to Pastor Thomas and return to God, who has not stopped thinking about him, who has not turned his back on him. And I had that opportunity to talk to him Sunday morning because I was in quarantine. If I wasn't in quarantine, I would have been on my way to church. I wouldn't have posted that reminder. I wouldn't have been able to see his message to me. I would have missed the whole thing. I would not have been able to have a contact with my friend in the Dominican Republic. And as I thought about that, I thought again about another scripture that we say all the time. We read about it all the time. This one's found in Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. But if this isn't an illustration of the principle in this verse, I don't know what is. Romans 8:28 says, we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. I don't think God really wants people to be sick with the COVID-19 virus. I don't blame God for that. But I do know that God uses that and everything else that happens in my life and in your life and in the lives of everyone. He uses it all to accomplish his perfect purpose. He has a plan. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. My reason for being quarantined was because a member of my family was tested positive for COVID-19 early last week. And as soon as we found out, we had to quarantine until we could be tested and cleared. My family member is recovering well. In fact, is returning to work tomorrow. I was tested and the test came back negative. I did not have the virus. My wife was tested and her test came back negative. She does not have the virus. Everyone else in our family is fine, safe, and healthy. We've been quarantined, but even that is coming to an end, and I expect to be back in school on Thursday. All part of God's plan. God knew about all of this before any of it happened. And he knew that I would be available Sunday morning. He caused my quarantine to work together with other factors to accomplish his good purpose in my life, in the life of my friend in the Dominican Republic, and I'm sure in many, many other people's lives as well. I thought about that a lot on Sunday, and I've been thinking about it a lot since. And I wanted to share it with you, students and teachers at Harmony Christian School during our Wednesday chapel, just to tell you, God's promise is always, always trustworthy. God's plan is good. And no matter what happens to me, God is able to use all of the circumstances in my life, all of the circumstances in your life, in working together with the things that he brings about in our lives to produce his good result, his good purpose, to accomplish his will. And his purpose in my life and his purpose in your life is to bring us to the place where we are just like his beloved Son, Jesus Christ. I hope that my sharing my story with you today will give you something to think about. Maybe think about your own circumstances and look back, just a little ways back in what has happened in your life, and see if you can't also connect some of the dots. How God has used this thing and that event and that circumstance and that person in your life as part of his perfect plan in bringing you to the place where he wants you to be. I look forward to seeing you all in person again on Thursday. But in the meantime, I just want you to be encouraged. God's plan is good. He loves you. And yeah, in my own quirky way, I love you too. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Bye.